Have you ever stopped everything you were doing at exactly 6 o'clock in the evening and felt deep in your chest that someone was calling your name? A strange tightness, a silence that carries weight, a voice that didn't come from your ears, but from within your soul. It wasn't the exhaustion of the day, it wasn't late afternoon hunger, it wasn't your imagination inventing signs where none exist. It was a calling, and it's not just any calling, chosen one. It is God's emergency call for you, who have lost the direction of your own life and no longer even know how to find your way back home. There is something profoundly sacred about the hour of 6. It is the exact moment when the sun begins its farewell, when the day hands the baton to the night, and when the sky turns into that palette of fire and gold that seems painted by divine hands. The ancients knew this, the prophets knew this, the mystics knew this. And now, finally, God is teaching it to you too. Because at 6 o'clock, a spiritual window opens, a rift in the fabric of time where heaven leans closer to the earth, where angels descend with urgent messages, and where God calls out, in the whisper of an anxious father, to those children who have strayed along the path. What if I told you that this tightness you feel every day at this time, this melancholy that seems to have no explanation, this urge to cry for no apparent reason, this feeling that something is terribly wrong but you can't put a name to it, is God trying to reach you? You are not going crazy, you are not depressed without reason, you are not weak for feeling what you feel. You are being called, and heaven is in a state of emergency for you. Because a chosen soul who is lost is not just a statistic in the divine plan, it is a missing piece in a puzzle larger than your rational mind can comprehend. And when God realizes that one of his own has gone astray, he does not remain indifferent. He calls, he insists, he tightens the chest, he steals sleep. He places people in your path. He makes songs play at the exact moment. He makes numbers appear. He makes the clock strike 6 just as you look at it for the 3rd time in the same day. Think now. Remember, how many times in the last few weeks have you looked at the clock and it was exactly 6 in the evening? How many times have you felt like crying without understanding why at exactly this time? How many times has the feeling of being lost, of not knowing what you were doing with your own life, hit harder as the sun began to set? That is why I prepared this powerful digital book for you, the Chosen One's Manual for Family Protection. This digital book is not just reading. It is the map you should have received a long time ago, but that no one ever gave you. A map that shows exactly how to interpret these 6 o'clock calls, how to recognize the signs God is sending specifically to his lost children, and what the spiritual rules are that you were never told about regarding the sacred hours when heaven approaches earth. This digital book was created for those who have already awakened enough to understand that this tightness in the chest is not an illness. It is a message. For those who are ready to stop treating as a symptom what is in fact a divine summons. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. But I must warn you, this type of content challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping quiet. And there have already been attempts to silence this knowledge before, because a chosen one who discovers the map back home is a chosen one that no one else can control. Do not wait for the right moment, because the right moment is now. And you did not come across these words by chance. Download it now and comment below. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Now that you have decided to act, the next truth I am going to reveal to you will be the final blow against the confusion that has dominated your mind these past few months, because there is a very specific reason why God chooses 6 o'clock as the moment for the emergency call. And that reason has to do with what the ancients called the hour of the golden silence. Observe nature at this time. The birds begin to retreat to their nests. The wind changes direction. Dogs howl at things no one sees. Small children, who have not yet been contaminated by the materialism of the adult world, often become agitated, tearful, or restless. Why? Because they are feeling what you feel, only with the pure sensitivity of someone who still sees the invisible. At 6 o'clock, dimensions touch, the veil becomes thin, and that is exactly why God chooses this moment to call you, because it is the only moment of the day when your soul can hear louder than your rational mind. Your mind, occupied all day with bills, deadlines, problems at work, arguments at home, and terrible news on your phone, finally tires around 6 o'clock. It lowers its guard. And then, in that tiny gap between the end of the workday and the beginning of the night, God whispers. And you, chosen one, listen, even if you don't understand what you are hearing. But there is something even deeper that needs to be said here, something that will bother you, but it needs to be spoken, because the silence regarding this truth is exactly what has kept you lost. You got lost because you were distracted on purpose, not by chance, not out of spiritual laziness, not for lack of faith. You were distracted by an entire system designed to prevent you from hearing the 6 o'clock call. Think carefully. What are you usually doing at 6 in the evening? Probably stuck in traffic, exhausted, or rushing to pick up your child from school, or hurriedly cooking to feed the family, or scrolling through your phone feed with a glazed look, watching other people's lives, or watching the evening news full of tragedies, or arguing with someone in the family over a silly reason. All of this, chosen one, is not a coincidence. This time, precisely this time, has been colonized by distractions so that you could never hear what God is trying to tell you. Because if you heard, you would remember. And if you remembered, you would stand up. And if you stood up, you would fulfill your mission. And if you fulfilled your mission, very powerful pieces of this invisible game would lose control over you and over everything you could transform around you. This is what no one tells you in common sermons, in self-help books, in cheap therapy offices, or in generic motivational videos. This is a spiritual truth that belongs to the chosen, and that is why it is being revealed now, precisely to you who are watching this to this exact point. And it is exactly at this moment that the Chosen One's Manual for Family Protection becomes indispensable. Because this digital book does not talk about generic prayers you have heard 1,000 times. It reveals the complete spiritual protocol for recognizing, receiving, and responding to divine emergency calls, including the specific 6 o'clock call that is crossing your life right now. It shows who is playing against your ability to hear God, what forces are distracting you precisely at the sacred moment, and how you can shield the hour of the calling so that nothing else can interrupt the direct communication between heaven and your soul. The link remains pinned at the top of the comments, but I must emphasize, every minute this content remains online is a victory, because there have already been concrete attempts to take this material down. After all, it hands the chosen ones the keys that were part of a knowledge kept for centuries by spiritual elites who did not want the common people to know. Download it now and comment. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Make this act of faith, because now that you have sealed this commitment to your mission, the next revelation I will give you will unlock a force within you that has been dormant since your childhood. And this force has a name, Chosen One. It is called soul memory. You were not born as a blank page. You came into this world with ancient missions, with commitments made even before descending to this plane, with promises made in other places that your mind has forgotten, but that your soul carries like an invisible tattoo deep in your chest. And it is precisely because of these forgotten promises that you feel now this terrible sensation of being lost. You are not geographically lost. You are not financially lost, although that may also be tight. You are spiritually lost because you strayed from the contract you yourself signed before arriving here. And the 6 o'clock call? That is exactly what it is. It is God taking you by the arm in the firm gesture of a loving father and saying, "Child, you forgot, but I haven't forgotten, and there is still time, but it must be now." Now pay attention to something you may never have noticed. When that tightness hits at 6 o'clock, what is the thought that usually comes with it? Almost always, it is a thought about someone, a specific person, a family member you no longer speak to, a childhood friend you lost contact with, an old love, a forgiveness you were never able to ask for, a reconciliation that was left halfway, or even worse, someone who has already departed this world and whom you feel you failed to honor as you should have. This, chosen one, is not innocent nostalgia. It is not empty longing. It is not your mind punishing you. This is God handing you, at the exact moment heaven opens, the list of things that still need to be resolved so that your path can be found again. Because a soul only gets lost when it carries too much weight from spiritual pending matters, and a soul only returns to the path when it begins to handle these matters one by one, with courage, with humility, with the holy fear of one who understands that time here on earth is limited. And perhaps you are thinking now, but if God wants me back so badly, why doesn't he speak more clearly? Why doesn't he send me a letter? Why doesn't he appear and resolve everything at once? Chosen one, listen to what I'm going to tell you with the same firmness that a father speaks to a beloved son. God is already speaking, for weeks, for months, perhaps for years. But you are surrounded by noise. You sleep with your phone next to your head. You wake up checking notifications before you even properly open your eyes. You eat while watching videos. You drive listening to podcasts at maximum volume. You shower with loud music. You don't give silence even 5 minutes of your day. And God, chosen one, does not shout. God whispers. God respects your free will. He calls you, but he does not drag you. He invites you, but he does not push you. And the divine whisper is only heard in silence. That is why 6 o'clock has become your emergency call, because it is the last hour of the day when your soul can still force a gap of silence within you, even if it's only for 30 seconds. Even if it's only in that strange sigh you give while looking at the sky, while stopped at a red light. Even if it's only in that moment when you stand still in the kitchen, without knowing why you stopped. That second, chosen one, is God's second. It is the rift where he enters, and that is why you are feeling exactly what you are feeling now. But there is a huge danger here, and I must warn you with all honesty. When God calls a chosen one through the 6 o'clock emergency, and that chosen one ignores it, do you know what happens? It is not punishment. It is not divine revenge. God is not vengeful. What happens is more subtle, and in a sense even more painful. The window begins to close, the whisper gets quieter, the tightness becomes rarer, not because God gave up on you, but because your own soul, tired of not being heard by your mind, begins to fall silent from exhaustion. And then comes the worst thing of all. Indifference comes. That feeling of empty void without pain comes, which is much worse than pain with meaning. Life on autopilot comes. Empty success comes. A marriage without soul comes. A child raised without purpose comes. Old age comes with that terrible question. Did I really live or did I just pass through life? You don't want to get there, chosen one. And that is why this video reached you. Exactly today. Exactly at this time. Exactly when you needed to hear these words. And it is exactly for this reason that the Chosen One's Manual for Family Protection exists. This digital book was built to be the antidote to the spiritual indifference that is killing millions of chosen souls in silence. It teaches you page by page how to rebuild the bridge of communication with God that the modern world tried to destroy, how to decipher the 6 o'clock emergency call and transform it into concrete direction for your life, how to protect your family from falling into the same abyss of spiritual disorientation that so many families are falling into now, and how to reclaim the mission your soul signed before descending to this world. The link remains pinned at the top of the comments, but the window of availability is narrow. This kind of deep Christian revelation bothers those who prefer to keep the chosen ones confused, scattered, and uninformed about their own calling. They have tried to silence this material before, and the only reason it is still available is because chosen ones like you are downloading, reading, and sharing it before it disappears. Do not postpone this step. Download it now and comment, "I am chosen, and I will download the digital book." This act of faith is not mechanical. It is the first pact between you and your mission. And now that this pact has been sealed, prepare your heart, because the final part of this revelation will hand you the secret key that separates the chosen ones who return from the chosen ones who are lost forever. There are 3 unmistakable signs that the 6 o'clock emergency call is happening specifically to you, and I am going to give you these 3 signs now because an informed chosen one is a protected chosen one. The first sign is what I call the sacred interruption. It is that moment, always around 6 o'clock when you are doing something ordinary, washing dishes, checking your phone, walking down the street, driving, and out of nowhere, you stop. It isn't fatigue. It isn't a common distraction. It is a pause that comes from the inside out, as if something inside you said, wait. And you wait. And in those still seconds, a thought comes. It might be an old memory. It might be an intuition. It might be a sudden urge to pray. It might be the name of a person you haven't thought of in years. This thought, chosen one, did not come from nowhere. It was delivered. And to ignore it is to waste a letter that God sent you by the fastest messenger there is, silence. The second sign is the weight in the chest for no apparent reason. And pay attention, because this is very important. This weight is not clinical depression. It is not common anxiety. It is not a heart problem. This weight has a signature. It always appears at the same time. It disappears when you surrender to something truly spiritual, a sincere prayer, a sacred reading, a deep conversation. And it always returns whenever you distance yourself from your purpose. This weight is the spiritual equivalent of a GPS recalculating a route. It bothers you because you are driving in the wrong direction of life, and it will only stop bothering you when you correct the path. The third sign is the subtlest and most powerful of all. It is what I call the sudden urge to cry at simple things. A common sunset, a child laughing in the street, an old song playing out of nowhere, the smell of childhood food, a random phrase said by someone, and you feel your eyes well up without quite understanding why. This crying chosen one is the soul overflowing with what the mind does not allow to pass. It is the memory of who you were before you got lost leaking through your eyes. It is God reminding you, in the language of a child, of what you forgot as an adult. And it always happens at this time, always in this 6 o'clock window or shortly after, when the sky begins to darken and your soul recognizes that it is closing another day far from home. These three signs together, chosen one, are the divine GPS trying to reorient you with urgency. If you are feeling two of them, it's a yellow alert. If you are feeling all three, the red alert is on. The emergency call is open to you now, and heaven is waiting for you with the infinite patience of a father who never gave up, but with the urgency of one who knows that time is precious. And what to do with this call? Here is the key that changes everything. It is not a magic formula. It is not a specific memorized prayer. It is not a complicated ritual. The answer is simpler and more difficult at the same time. It is to stop, every day, at 6 o'clock, for 5 minutes, in absolute silence. No phone, no music, no television, no distraction. Just you, the sky, and God. 5 minutes. You can do that. Anyone can do that. And in those 5 minutes, chosen one, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to ask for anything. You just need to be available. Do this for 7 days in a row, and observe what will start to happen to your life. People will reappear. Opportunities will arise. Answers will arrive. Paths will open. Not because magic happened, but because you finally opened the door that God has been knocking on for a long time. And here comes the final warning, chosen one. He who hears the 6 o'clock call and responds transforms his own life. He who hears and pretends he didn't hear remains lost. He who no longer even hears because he has anesthetized himself too much needs much more than 5 minutes. He needs urgent spiritual help. And it is exactly for that chosen one that this video was made. Not for the one who is fine, for the one who is lost, for the one who doubts, for the one who is tired, for the one who almost gave up, for the one who still has a spark, however tiny, wanting to go back home. If you have come this far listening to every word, know this: the calling is real. The emergency is real. Heaven is in a state of readiness for you. And none of this is a coincidence. The very fact that you clicked on this video in an infinite ocean of content is already the first response to the call. The second response comes now. In deciding, in choosing, in stopping the procrastination, in accepting that you are indeed a chosen one, and that chosen ones do not have the luxury of living small, distracted, lost lives. And it is for all of this, for absolutely everything that has just been revealed in this video, that the Chosen One's Manual for Family Protection was placed in your path precisely today, precisely at this exact moment of your life. This digital book is the complete guide that will take everything you just heard and transform it into daily practice, into a sacred routine, into real protection for you and yours. It teaches you how to ritualize the 6 o'clock silence, how to clearly identify the 3 signs of the emergency call, how to shield your home against the distractions that hijack sacred hours, and how to lead your entire family back to the divine direction, even if today you feel like you are alone in this mission. The link is pinned at the top of the comments, waiting exactly for you. But I must be absolutely honest with you in these final words. This type of knowledge challenges an entire structure of spiritual silencing that has operated for decades, and as much as this material is online now, it has already been the target of removal attempts before. Every chosen one who downloads today is one more chosen one who escapes the web of confusion that has blinded so many souls. Do not wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow may be too late. The right moment is now, chosen one, and you did not reach these final words by any accident. Download the digital book now. Comment down below with your entire soul. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. And after that, chosen one, do not forget. Tomorrow at exactly 6 o'clock, stop for 5 minutes. Heaven will be waiting, and this time you will finally hear what has always been being said. Welcome back to your path, chosen one. Welcome back home.